Some of the most talkative, confident people you know might be the loneliest introverts you'll ever meet. They laugh easily, they lead meetings, host parties, command rooms full of strangers. And yet, when the noise fades, something in them quietly aches for silence, for solitude, for permission to disappear. That's the paradox nobody talks about. We've been taught that introversion means shyness, social anxiety, awkward silences in crowded rooms. But what if that's not it at all? What if the real definition has nothing to do with how you act around people and everything to do with what happens inside you when you are? There's a quieter truth here, one most people never learn about themselves. And once you understand it, you'll never see yourself the same way again. Here's what most people get wrong. Introversion was never about hating people. It was never about being cold, distant, or socially broken. It's about energy economics, plain and simple. Think of yourself as a phone battery. For some people, being around others is like plugging into a charger. Every conversation, every gathering, every burst of social contact fills them back up. But for the true introvert, that same interaction drains the battery instead. Not because the people are bad, not because the moments aren't real or meaningful, but because connection, for them, costs energy rather than creates it. So they can love deeply, laugh freely, even thrive in conversation for a while, and still walk away feeling depleted. Not by the people, but by the sheer act of being switched on. This isn't weakness. It isn't a flaw to fix. It's simply a different operating system, one that runs on solitude the way others run on stimulation. And once you see it this way, the next signs will make complete, undeniable sense. The first sign is the one almost everyone has felt, but never named: needing recovery time after socializing. It looks like exhaustion, like something went wrong, like maybe the gathering was too much or the people too draining. But it's actually nothing of the sort. It's simply your system doing what it was built to do, returning to baseline after spending currency it doesn't naturally regenerate in crowds. You can have the best night of your year and still need the next morning in complete silence to feel human again. That's not contradiction. That's chemistry. The second sign shows up in something as small as a buzzing phone. You see a call coming in, someone you genuinely love, and still your stomach tightens. It looks like avoidance, like you're pulling away from the relationship itself. But it's actually a preference for control, for the ability to gather your thoughts before responding, to choose words instead of reacting in real time. A text isn't distance. It's a doorway you get to open on your own terms. And the third sign is the most disorienting because it defies logic on the surface. You attend a wonderful event, genuine laughter, meaningful conversation, nothing went wrong, and yet you drive home feeling strangely empty, almost hollow. It looks like ingratitude, like something is broken in your ability to enjoy good things. But it's actually proof that even joy has a cost when it's externally generated. Good company can still empty the tank. Quality has never been the same as energy. And if you felt this confusion before, quietly wondering why connection sometimes leaves you more tired than alone time ever could, what you're about to hear next will explain something even deeper. The fourth sign lives entirely in your head, where no one else can see it. You replay conversations hours later, sometimes days later, analyzing a sentence you said, wondering if it landed wrong, rewriting it in your mind until it feels right. It looks like anxiety, like you're trapped in some loop of self-doubt, but it's actually depth of processing, a mind that doesn't let moments pass through unexamined, one that keeps working long after the world has moved on. The fifth sign is the one most people never even suspect exists because it happens in total silence. There's a rich, constant monologue running underneath your quiet exterior, full of observations, questions, half-finished ideas you never say out loud. It looks like you have nothing to contribute, but it's actually the opposite. You have almost too much, and most of it never makes it past the threshold of your own mind. The sixth sign, and perhaps the most misunderstood of all, is your aversion to small talk paired with your hunger for real conversation. Weather, traffic, surface level pleasantries feel like static, like noise wasting time you'll never get back. But the moment someone shares something true, something vulnerable, you lean in completely. It looks like pickiness, like you're hard to reach, but it's actually that you're only built for depth, not breadth, and shallow water has simply never felt like home. Slow down here for a moment, because this is where most people stop understanding themselves and start judging themselves instead. You're not antisocial. You're not difficult. You're someone whose mind requires meaning, not motion, to feel truly engaged. And there's nothing broken about that at all. The seventh sign reveals itself in how you choose people, not just spaces. You don't need many friends. You need the right ones, the few who understand your silences as much as your words. It looks like you're hard to get close to, like your circle is small because something's missing. But it's actually selectivity born from self-knowledge. You've learned that depth with 2 people will always outlast performance for 20. The eighth sign hides in your relationship with rest itself. You don't crave vacations filled with activity and constant movement. You crave stillness, an empty afternoon, a closed door, nowhere to be and no one to be for. It looks like laziness, or worse, disinterest in life. But it's actually restoration, the only kind that actually works for a mind like yours. And then there's the sign almost no one ever connects to introversion, the one you won't be able to unsee once it's named. You can be the most engaged person in a room, speaking, smiling, fully present, and still feel completely alone in it. Not because no one sees you, but because no one sees the version of you that exists in silence, the one doing all the real thinking. That isolation isn't sadness. It's the quiet cost of being deeply social on the surface and deeply private underneath. A contradiction only true introverts ever learn to carry. This is the part that hurts to admit. So let's say it plainly. Every time you forced yourself to stay at the party 15 minutes longer than you wanted to, every time you said yes to plans you needed to decline, every time you mistook your own quiet nature for a flaw that needed fixing, you weren't growing. You were masking. And masking has a cost that compounds silently over years until it shows up as burnout, resentment, or a strange exhaustion you can never quite explain to anyone who hasn't lived it. You compared yourself to the loudest people in the room and called yourself lacking. You watched extroverted confidence get rewarded, applauded, promoted, and quietly concluded that your nature was something to override rather than honor. So you performed. You stretched yourself into shapes that were never yours to begin with, hoping no one would notice the toll it took once you got home, alone, finally allowed to exhale. But here's what all those years of forcing cost you most: the chance to actually know yourself, the chance to build a life around your real energy instead of someone else's. And once you see that clearly, there's no version of you that wants to keep paying that price. The relief comes the moment you finally stop. Remember that talkative, confident person we started with? The one who might secretly be the loneliest introvert you know? Now you understand them, because now you understand yourself. You were never broken. You were never too sensitive, too quiet, too much in your head. You were simply wired for depth in a world that often rewards volume. This isn't a flaw that needs fixing. It's a design that needs honoring, a different kind of strength, built on stillness instead of stimulation. Imagine a life where you stop apologizing for needing silence, where solitude feels like power instead of failure, where your energy is spent only on what truly matters to you. That life isn't a fantasy. It's simply what happens the moment you stop fighting your own nature and start trusting it completely, finally, without permission from anyone else. So tell me, out of everything you just heard, Which sign hit closest to home? Was it the silence after good company, the inner monologue no one hears, or that quiet loneliness in a crowded room? I read every single comment, so don't hold back. And if even one part of this felt like looking in a mirror, send it to someone who needs to hear it too. They might be carrying this alone, wondering if something's wrong with them. Show them it isn't.